Hey guys, did you ever get so focused on one task that you completely forget that there's many others that exist? And then once you realize it, you get super stressed out. And then you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, today we're going to talk about that laser focus and stop you feeling like an airhead, that you totally forgot everything else around you that's happening. And we're going to help you figure out how to get to the heart of the matter and help you solve it. So stay tuned.
This is a shakedown.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Talk with Coach Allison G. Today you're going to notice I'm sitting alone because my cohort and partner and sidekick Leah, she's recovering from surgery. So guys, let's send Leah all of our well wishes and love for speedy recovery so she can get back next to me really soon. Today, we are going to be focusing on the topic of tunnel vision, exactly what that is and why being laser focused on a task or laser focused on things in our life can be both a positive and a negative. What are the ups? What are the downs? What are the pitfalls? What are the triggers? And what are things we can do to help multitask a little bit better? So we're going to dive in and we're going to figure out, number one, what is tunnel vision, right? So tunnel vision is basically, the definition is objects are not seen outside your center of field, okay, your field of vision. So I brought a prop today, and if I look at this water bottle and I uncap it, one thing I'm going to see is that I can see inside of it. And if I look inside to the very back, I'm going to see the end. I'm going to see the end of that task. But what I'm not going to see if I look inside of it is anything that's going on the outside of those four walls. So imagine driving your car through a tunnel, and that tunnel could be carving through a mountain. It could be going underwater. It could literally be just cutting through traffic. But once you're in that tunnel, you don't see anything else around you except for what's right in front of you. So that's really the idea of tunnel vision. Get a paper towel tube next time your paper towel roll is empty, or a toilet paper. And because no one in your house will actually throw it away, it just kind of sits there, very annoying. But next time, grab it, put it up to your eye and take a look and see if you can see outside what's the center of that tube, and you're not going to be able to. So that is tunnel vision, and we can get it in all areas of our life. We can get it in work, we can get it in exercise, we can get it in entertainment, and we'll talk about a few of those examples as we talk today. Why is tunnel vision a bad thing, right? Why shouldn't I be super laser focused? We even have medications to help us stay more focused. So why is that a bad thing? It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be something that can derail you from the goals you're trying to achieve. So if my goal is I want to get a promotion at work, I want to be better in my sport, I want to get into exercise, right? Even I want to get into healthy living, healthy eating. If this becomes a primary focus, sometimes it can become the only focus. So all those other things that we're doing are going to fall to the wayside. And I've heard this. I've heard this from clients through the years. All of a sudden, they're so wrapped up in a task that work gave them that the house is falling apart. You know, they're running wild to go get the kids, or they haven't done laundry in ages, or I don't have time to cook, so I'm only taking takeout. And that's because we're not living that balance, right? We're solely focusing on one aspect, and it happens to all of us. I've had it happen to me countless times. But it can also be in other areas. So as we know, I teach fitness classes. And I've literally had someone so laser focused in the workout and what they were doing, and I've done this too, that we're so in that moment that it literally tripped over a kettlebell right in front of us. But we don't see it because we're so focused on what's right there in my vision of field that anything else around me is out of the zone. So yes, I've tripped. I've seen people trip. I've literally seen people, this poor girl has brought a glass blender bottle to class and has broken at least 3 because people don't pay attention to what's right on the outside of their field of vision. And I feel so bad. Hint, don't bring glass to a workout. Okay. Also look on the floor when you're walking so you too don't trip over kettlebells. There's also missing out on the peripheral vision. Okay, what is that peripheral vision? That's everything on the outside or around to the side. Where does it work to be tunnel vision if you're a horse? If you're betting on the horses, you absolutely want your horse to have tunnel vision. That's why they wear blinders. We don't need that. We need to be able to see in the peripheral. Driving is 100% a good example of that. Even though we're driving, if I'm only looking straight and I'm not paying attention to what's on the side of me and I don't see that car run the red light, then I might not be able to stop in time and thus get into an accident. So even in driving, if the tunnel vision is just to get from A to B and my music's playing and that's all I'm thinking about and I'm dropping that peripheral, then that could lead to a problem as well. So the peripheral vision is about seeing the bigger picture. It's about balance. It's about flexibility. This year I've worked with clients and we've talked about the gray or the float, meaning it doesn't have to be black or white. It doesn't need to be on or off. It doesn't need to be in or out, that there's this space where we can exist in a balance or we can swerve or be flexible with the things that are around us. Clearly go back to the car example that I've just said. And if I'm driving and I see a car coming at me off my peripheral, I'm able to either swerve out of the way, I'm either slow down, I can brake, I can find that balance that prevents an accident or an injury. In work, we need to be able to see that same thing. What's on the outside of the task that we're working on? So if you are trying to find, and we've talked about this, that work-life balance really isn't existing, it's work-life integration. How do you integrate? How do you take what's going on in your personal life and bring that into your professional one? Well, if I'm working and I have a big occasion coming up, I'm getting married, I'm having a huge party, I'm planning a vacation. If we don't create space and time for those things, then we're never going to have a great experience. It might get done. Trust me, that's where procrastination comes in. You're going to get it done, but it's just not going to be at the level of what you've expected or what you've hoped for. And maybe your experience isn't exactly the experience you were hoping to have. Thus, your goals may not be realized. Why and what does it take to stay focused? That's a good question, because I know, and I've admitted this before, I'm the first one with the squirrel thinking where, oh, squirrel, I'm off, right? Like, and I'll go on tangent. You've probably heard some of our tangents before, even on our podcasts. We're known to do this. But there are 3 different techniques that can actually help you when it comes to avoiding that tunnel vision. The first is called the Pomodoro technique, which is basically short, focused bursts of time followed by a short break. Where this helps, well, we all have our phones. We have timers on our phones. We can set a stopwatch and we can tell ourselves, for 30 minutes, I am solely going to work on this project. At the 30-minute mark, my alarm's going to go off and I'm going to take a quick 5 or 10-minute break. And even if I wanted to switch my focus, I'm actually planning on what I'm going to be focusing on. But again, we keep it short, we keep it intentional and mindful, and then we can switch off, take a break, take a rest, and switch to another thought or idea. The second is called the Eisenhower matrix. And this matrix is based on what is urgent, what is important, and not getting sucked into the rabbit hole, right? So maybe creating a list of priorities for yourself. What are the things that actually have to get done first? Is it my laundry, or is it this particular task that's due by 3 p.m. to my boss? If you are working from home, sometimes the laundry wins, right? If you are working from home, the dishes win. If you are working from home, the snack wins, right? Or Netflix even wins. If you're working remotely, the Dunkin' Donuts wins. So, like for Dunkin'. But if it is something where we list what is urgent, what needs to be done, and sometimes just having a nice to-do list, you can print out templates. They have them online that are free, and just go to the Dollar Tree. They have some of the greatest little planners that you can get, and just for that day, mark out what is the top 1, 2, or 3 things that have to get done today. Then you can go ahead and create the space for other things. That kind of leads us into our third technique, which is called the maybe later list. So once we identify what our top 3 things are, then we can turn around and say, okay, this is on my maybe later list and this is now later. So what can I attack that's here? So one thing, and I use them for small things. For example, when I work with clients, a lot of the times people struggle with getting water in. We have a requirement daily. It's either half of your body weight in ounces of water, or strategically, I just tell people about 80 to 90 ounces per day is what our human body requires. Well, people forget to drink all day long. Again, we get focused on what we're supposed to do. We may forget to eat our lunch. We may forget to eat a snack. We may forget to take a break. We may forget to drink. So I always tell people, keep that in front of you, but find something that's pleasing to you. My favorite water bottle literally consists of stickers from every place that I've gone to that I like. So it makes it pretty for me. It's very visual. Yeah, sorry, I can't talk today. But that's something, if I keep it in front of me, that becomes an urgency that I know I need to do. If that doesn't work for you, you try another technique. If your goal is to drink water, what is going to create that urgency for you to do it? So try different techniques. Again, find the pretty water bottle. I find drinking from a straw very helpful for me because it all gives me a little bit of mindless drinking too when I'm working on a task. Staying motivated to do these things are hard, right? You have to stay motivated during the grind of when it is, because I'm going to tell you what happens. Someone else's importance becomes greater than your own. That's a really sad fact that other people's issues become way more important than yours. And that's one place where we have to be okay with feeling a little selfish. And I'm not even going to say selfish because I know too many people take that as a bad word. But we have to have a level of self-preservation, right? How do we preserve ourselves? How do we preserve our goals, our needs? How do we prevent them from getting sucked away from us? And one of those ways is to create that importance list for us, to know that it is okay for us to focus on these things. It's okay to put ourselves in that center field division and do the things that we want to do, right? Take those quick breaks. Take those mindful, intentional breaks where we allow ourselves, because I don't know how you are. Sometimes I feel really guilty when I take a break. There's this weird thing that if I'm sitting on the couch, I'm not productive. That if I'm sitting down somewhere doing nothing, that I'm actually not productive. And I'm not sure where that came from, and I'm not sure why. And I've actually heard it from hundreds and hundreds of people that I've spoken to and worked with before, that there's this almost guilt by not always doing. And I think that is something we get overtired, right? We burn out. When we're always going and doing, there is a hormonal response to that. I mean, there is a cortisol release, which is a blood sugar hormone. There is an adrenaline release to that, which picks us up at a high, causes our body to live in this fight or flight mechanism that, truthfully, fight or flight is supposed to peak and then resolve. But if we're living in this elevated state for a period of time, we can't do it. Our bodies can't. Your car can't. I've used this example for years. If you put your car in park and you floor your engine and you do that, let's say for 8 hours, a typical workday, maybe 8 to 10 hours, your car's engine would not survive. There would be damage. Well, relate that back to our cardiac system, because that's really what it is. It's the engine of our body. It keeps everything running. If you keep that engine at a top gun without an idle for a long period of time, days, weeks, months, years, think about everything you're trying to get through. At some point in time, there's going to be damage. There's either going to be hormonal disruption, there's going to be cardiac issues, we're going to have spikes in blood sugar, which leads to diabetes, neuropathy, inflammation, chronic pain. So there's so many things that it will attribute to. So being intentional, getting out of this tunnel vision, which is causing us then to panic when we realize there's things on the outside of that tunnel, in that periphery, that also need to be taken care of, that's important. Case in point, I was just telling Osai on the other side of the camera over here. Hey, Osai. I was just telling him about something I did, which this is what prompted me for this episode. I literally was so focused on a project. I had stopped what I thought was my intentional rest and made myself a cup of coffee. But then again, got pulled right back into my project. 4 hours later, I realized that coffee that I made was still sitting there. I never got back to it. So 4 hours later, I enjoy an iced coffee instead. But it's that idea. I realized that, oh my God, something as simple as making myself a cup of coffee, I was distracted from and pulled right back into my tunnel. And that break really was for me, and I gave it up. So these are things to start thinking about. It's also, believe it or not, sleep impacts that. That's a real thing, right? Our focus, our concentration. We think we're doing a good job, and we'll talk about this in other episodes, lack of sleep, what it does to us, and other areas of our life it affects when we don't have that quality. But even in this one, we do want to have focus, but sometimes when we're not feeling our absolute best, we're overtired, we're run down, it is harder to stay focused, which almost makes us want to stay in that tunnel even more to grasp what we're having a hard time grasping, if that makes sense. So these are some things that we want to do. Again, try to print out a to-do list. Just give yourself 1, 2, or 3 top priorities in the day. Don't have, if you remember, we had an episode a while back about, are you meta lister? List for the lists. Don't be a meta lister. We don't need lists for the lists. We need one list or one short top 3 for the day. That's going to make sure we stay focused. Then we're going to turn around, and then we can work on the periphery of everything else that we want to do. So I hope this helps you to become from laser focus to total airhead and find that float in between. Find that balance. Find your level. Find your self-preservation mode. And the next time you start beating yourself up because you're squirreling, go back to your top 3 focus. Create those short, urgent things. Create those short bursts of time. Pull out your phone for something else than doom scrolling, as Leah likes to call it. Doom scrolling or seeing what's on social media. Actually use the stopwatch function under clock and set a timer for yourself and make sure that you're really intentional about what you're doing. So until next time, stay healthy, stay real, and you got this. I'm with you. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow, and check out our next episodes. And you can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Coach Allison Gold. Until next time.
So fresh. Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown.
Playing with my hair.
Hey.
Alright, we're good.
I'm watching Ben Affleck play with my hair. Okay.